What is up guys, Andy Forrest, the runner here, and welcome back to another video. And today we're testing out the New Balance Fuelcell REBEL Duck V2 on the long run test and the speed test. So welcome to the big testing of the New Balance Fuelcell REBEL 2, not the Duck REBEL 2, the REBEL 2. And today we're out here doing a 16-mile long run, progressing it through 8 miles 7:10, 8 miles 6:30 per mile. So we'll go through the gears and see how it performs. A really decent length long run to give us a feel as to how this thing performs. And then of course next workout will be a workout for the speed test. So what we're going to do is we're going to get both of these done, see how they perform. I've got to be honest with you, I'm 2.75 miles in. They're such a great shoe, absolutely brilliant, lovely and cushioned. I'm excited for today. I'm feeling a bit fatigued if I'm honest, but these shoes are making it fun. So we'll get the long run done, enjoy that in the glorious sun, get the workout done, and then of course we'll touch base at the end and go through how the shoe performed over the various distances. So there we go, just wrapping up the long run test for the REBEL V2. 16 miles is coming up to 6:46 per mile. Lovely progression today, lovely weather, amazing shoe. Onto the speed test. So there we go, welcome to the speed test. I'm talking a bit quietly because it is 5:55 AM, so I don't want to wake everyone up with shouting, but today we have 7 by 2 minutes, 7 by 30 seconds and 7 by 50 meters, all at increasing pace ranges. We have, of course, the Rebels ready and raring to go. I'm excited to see how they do today. Will the cushion provide too much sink and bounce? Will I feel like they're nice and snappy? And see how we get on. I'm excited to find out. I've got this one today with Lee. So it passed the test of the long run with flying colours. Will it pass today? Let's find out. So there we go, speed workout done in the REBEL V2. That was great. 7 by 2, 7 by 30 seconds, 7 by 2 minutes, 7 by 30 seconds, 7 by 50 meters, 4 by 50 meters. We hit all the paces and quicker, feeling good and fresh this morning. And to be fair, the shoes felt absolutely brilliant, lovely and responsive, lovely and cushioned. Exactly what I needed on today's speed workout. So that's the 2 tests done. Let's go back and talk in more detail. So there we go, long run test and speed run test done and dusted in the New Balance Fuelcell REBEL V2. This has been a super exciting shoe and I'm excited to share my thoughts, and I love doing these videos purely from the fact it allows me to give you guys a bit more information, and for me testing it's just so much fun. These first impression videos are great, but it's really great to see where a shoe literally slots into the rotation, where its strengths are, where its weaknesses are. And I've got to be honest with you straight off the bat, I don't think this thing has a weakness, but we'll dive into that now. We'll talk about the long run, we'll talk about the speed test, and I'll give you my overall thoughts and how quickly we're going to be getting this thing up to 100 miles. So let's start with the long run test. So the long run, as you saw, ended up being 16 miles, 8 miles at 7:10 pace, 8 miles at 6:30 pace, and it ended up being really, really good. I actually ran a little bit quicker in the 6:30 range, meaning my average pace was a little bit quicker than it should have been, but either way, it just absolutely took me through that run beautifully. It was a fantastic shoe, and just before we dive in to my exact thoughts on this, I just have to put another word of warning out there. As I mentioned in the first impression, sizing is an issue with this shoe, so I obviously went true to size, and my toe is literally right at the end. Now, it hasn't caused me any bleeding, discomfort or anything like that, but I do feel my big toe touching the end, especially on the downhill, so I have to be a little bit bit careful. The sad thing is, if I go up a full size, which I have to in mine, there is no option to go 13.5, 14 or 14.5. It is just 13.5, 14.5. It just gets too big. I've suffered with that in the New Balance shoe, and the whole toe box area feels very floppy and a little bit just too big and baggy, and sadly doesn't fit very well. So thankfully, in both the tests, in the 3 runs we've done in this shoe so far, we haven't had any major issues, but beware, it is tight in terms of fitting. So with that out of the way, as I said, we put the slower miles in, we put the faster miles in that long run, and just going through the gears in this shoe, it felt so effortless and so easy. It felt great at the 7:10 pace, it felt even better at the 6:30 pace. I just kind of feel where they've got it right with this shoe is the stack height. And I know that's a funny thing to say, but when you have foam that is this soft and this cushioned and this comfortable and bouncy and all the other buzzwords you want to use with it, the danger is if you put loads of stack in there, it might end up being a little bit more like the Invincible, which has very much been designed for an easy day shoe, and obviously that's a lot heavier as well. But there is that danger that it's too soft, too bouncy, too much of a sinking in feeling and not enough responsiveness to get going again when there's too much of that foam. This has just the right amount, 26mm in the heel, 20 in the forefoot, and I feel like that 20 is an absolute sweet spot for this shoe. So there's enough cushioning there to take the duration on the long run. 16 miles felt great, my feet felt brilliant, didn't feel beat up at all, but at the same time it was enough to get that pop and responsiveness, but also that cushioning. It just, they've got it right, and I'd love to know in testing if they tinkered with stack heights and things and kind of got to this, because in my head I kind of have this vision that they tried lower stack, higher stack, and they've kind of come somewhere in the middle to find this. And I've got to be honest with you, as I said, it worked beautifully on the long run. So fantastic at the start, even better at the end, and just a great all-round long run shoe. So onto the speed test, and this is where this thing really surprised me. Now I'm going to lay my cards on the table and say to you outright, I had a feeling the shoe was going to be good, but I had a feeling that the longer, slower miles and the moderate pace and the easy run was going to be where this thing shone, because I just worried that with the softness of the foam, I'd struggle to get that quick turnover that I needed in this shoe. And with the prescribed paces I had in today's speed session, which was 5:20 per mile at those 2-minute intervals and then quicker again, I thought to myself, I wonder how good this is going to be compared to the Puma Liberate Nitro, which again is a slightly softer, a slightly firmer foam, but great turnover, very snappy. And between those two shoes, there's such a great comparison, like with the racing shoes. You've got the Next Percent, you've got the Endorphin Pro, and you've got two very different feeling shoes. You've got the Next Percent where you sink with the foam and bounce away because the foam is so soft, and with the Endorphin Pro, you have a much more old school racing feeling, a little bit firmer, a little bit faster turnover, but obviously with the extra stack, it's just a totally different feeling. And for me, that's why I choose the Endorphin Pros on those shorter distances, because I feel like I'm getting my turnover quicker and it feels better. And that's where I wondered if this thing was going to come undone, but I've got to say, it didn't. It was absolutely fantastic. There was enough foam in there to kind of like sink and bounce, a very similar feeling in that respect to the Next Percent, but at the same time there was a real pop and responsiveness about it when you picked up the pace that really wasn't there when I was doing the long run. There was a lot more of a forward propelling momentum when I was turning over nicely, so much so that when I got down to the 30-second intervals and was meant to be running 5 flat pace, I ended up running 440s and 450s, because I was saying to Lee whilst we were running, come on, we need to run this fast but controlled, nice and smooth, and it just, the gliding, it was beautiful. So I was very happy, in fact over the moon, that this thing not only outdid its expectations, but it did it with flying colours. It was absolutely brilliant, and that leads me on to saying, does this shoe even really have a weakness? And I think the answer to that in my overall conclusion is going to be no. I don't think this shoe has a weakness. This is possibly the ultimate jack of all trades shoe. I've got to say, I've enjoyed it at every single pace that I have tried it at. No joke, from easy to speed intervals, this thing nails it in abundance. I find in the slower paces there's enough cushion there that you can enjoy the run. It feels great on your feet, they don't feel beaten up, but then the second you pick up the pace, you suddenly get this pop from the midsole that makes you move fast. And I haven't actually heard another reviewer
describe them in that way, but it's something I really felt this morning. I would really love to know if you guys have found that, because from judging by some of the comments already that I've seen on my first impressions video, some of you don't like to use it in speed sessions and some of you love to use it in speed sessions, and I'm definitely in the camp where I would love to use this in speed sessions. I now have the Puma Liberate Nitro and the Rebel 2 in my armour, in my artillery to use for those sessions, and they both give me two very different options, very different feeling shoes, but two very successful speed workout shoes. And that, coupled with the fact that this thing literally can do everything else, I have to say, so far, oh, this is going to be a big thing to say, but this could be the best shoe that I've tested all round this year, all round. So there's other shoes I think that might have shone slightly more in certain areas, but as terms of a jack of all trades shoe that can do absolutely everything, I think this is the shoe right now that's going to pip the others to the post. Probably a close second would be the Puma Liberate Nitro. I just find with the Liberate, it's fantastic at the speed, but maybe the easy, I need to use one of the other ranges from the Puma shoes, but this I think has got enough stack to cover the easy stuff and the fast stuff. It's a really exciting shoe, and I think my overall thoughts, as I said, is this is possibly the ultimate jack of all trades shoe of 2021, and if you need one shoe to do all, you're certainly looking at the right thing here. I mean, it's been exciting to test, and I cannot wait to get to 100 miles, and we're going to get there very quickly. This is going to be dropping into the rotation more often than not, and we're going to be ramping up the mileage in this thing very quick. So there we go, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As I said, where's the sweet spot for you? What have you found? Where have you found that this thing shines? Do you agree? Is it a jack of all trades shoe? Or is it something you reserve for a specific type of run? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get that discussion going. What a shoe. Absolutely fantastic. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.